we'll move on with that said.
Yes.
Talk about the next movie that we saw. This is going to be interesting. The Lighthouse.
Oh, boy.
The Lighthouse. So The Lighthouse, you might not have heard about it, but it is a indie movie that's been released by A24. It's directed by Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch. Which you might be a little bit more familiar with. I think it's on Netflix, right?
Yes, The Witch is indeed on Netflix.
So that movie has gained quite the following over the past few years. So this is Robert Eggers' follow-up to that movie, and it's starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. If you're not familiar with the premise, I guess just like a brief story. Your reaction to me saying premise is the funniest. That we'll get into that. But anyway, the movie. It's just about these two characters. There's a lighthouse keeper and, pretty much a caretaker. They meet each other, and it goes from there. So it's an interesting movie, shot completely in black and white. The aspect ratio is also shot differently than most movies. It's an interesting film, and if you've not seen the trailer, even if you don't plan to see the movie, I would encourage you to just check out the trailer, because there's not really anything else out there that looks like it. It has its own look and distinct feel.
Yeah.
A lot of that is due to the fact that it is shot in black and white, but it's also, most of it is done practically, right? It's a very practical, very contained sort of experience. But yes, we saw that movie this past Thursday, and I will say I was really, really looking forward to this, because The Witch is honestly one of my new favorite horror movies.
Yeah.
And so
it was just things adding up, right? It was The Witch was amazing, and then you give us these two really, really good actors.
Amazing.
And then you give us A24.
Yeah.
And then it's just,
they're known for quality. And it just, like I was mentioning, it looks different than everything else. So all of the ingredients were there and were set in place, and I was really looking forward to this. And then, we saw it. And I'll just start and say that it is, so it's not a movie for everybody.
Yep.
One, I don't think everybody would go and see this and necessarily enjoy it. You may really walk away and, for yourself, say that you had a great time,
right?
But you also might walk away and it completely not be for you. I think you can really fall on either end of that spectrum. It's an interesting experience to watch the movie. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And because I didn't love it, I'm actually disappointed.
Yep.
Because I thought I would love it. I was set up in my own mind. My expectations were, I'm going to love this movie because everything about it says that I will love it. The director and the cast and the premise and all of that stuff. But I did not. I only liked it because of just what it represents, what they the chances that they took, right? I appreciate it from a filmmaking standpoint, but the actual movie itself, it let me down.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about The Lighthouse. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, this movie, I agree. I was so excited. All the pieces were there. All the pieces, man. And I think a lot of critics, I guess, disagree, right? It's technically doing amazing. But
93% so far.
93%? Wow. I think that me as a person who watches movies, right, and I usually can understand a plot really fast, especially when it's meant to be mesmerizing or kind of confusing on purpose, right? You don't necessarily know what it's about, but that's kind of the point. I was just so lost. I was absolutely lost.
Well, as soon as the credits rolled, we both looked at each other and said, am I the only one that's confused by what we just saw?
Especially it was 5 people clapping, and I was like, did y'all know what just happened?
No, the 5 that were clapping, they must know something that we did not. They saw some shit that we did not see, man. I don't know.
I think so there's a lot of movies I love that where after the movie I have to go look stuff up, right? I have to what just happened. But this one kind of didn't feel like one of them. I wasn't excited to go look things up. This was it wasn't like a Us or Get Out where it's oh man, what did I miss? This was no, what the hell did I miss? It was really very confusing movie. And after reading about it, what the movie meant, what it was going on. I guess I did you know what I mean? Like I get it a little bit more, but for me to have to, go to those lengths, you know what I mean, to kind of like the movie, it's too much for me a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, we touched on like what the premise of the movie is, which might be my biggest gripe with the Lighthouse in the fact that I don't know if there's a real story here. Like, I mean, yes, there's a story. Like, it's about these two individuals and their experience with each other in this very isolated location. And eventually, they both turn on each other and they go mad. And it's like a lot of craziness. And you just see sort of like the deterioration of their mental, state of mind.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, I guess I was just expecting it to actually be about something.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't. Like, the things that it ended up, sort of like going for, just by the end of it, I felt like it was kind of an empty experience. I didn't feel like completely satisfied with where things went. And then the ending, I mean, it's a bit ambiguous, I would say. Like, it doesn't really point you in any direction, which, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I actually like open-ended, sort of things, but the entire experience was almost like that.
Yeah,
right?
I think I was really picky in my artsiness here, right? Like, I feel like, a lot of people, and maybe that's why critics like it, right? I'm like, man, this is a work of art. But a lot of times, for me, art doesn't have to be that hard. Like, it shouldn't have to, you know what I mean? I shouldn't have to fight to understand what you're trying to say all the time. And I feel like I was fighting the entire movie, trying to understand what the movie was trying to say. When I figured it out, again, I respected it a little bit more, right? But it was like, because I had to do that, it just like, nah.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to go through like a super, strenuous process to understand like what the filmmaker's trying to say with this movie. And then also looked up some of those articles and things, and like he was also being like really ambiguous about like what it was about. Like he didn't want to answer questions, and he didn't want to, say things, which again, I don't have a problem with necessarily, because I do think we live in an era where directors explain themselves way too much. Like I don't.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't like how. This is mostly like a thing with like comic book movies. I don't like directors over explaining themselves, and I feel like we've gotten there because like us as fans, we feel so entitled to like what these movies are about and like what they're supposed to mean, and like directors feel the need to go on this, let's explain everything in the movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at you, Russo's and Avengers Endgame, because like everywhere they went, they were just explaining the choices that they made, and I'm just like, no, like you don't have to do that.
People been hounding Todd Phillips too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, like no, we don't need like all of these answers. So I don't always have a problem with that, but it almost seemed as if like Robert Eggers was being like intentionally coy about it because he knew people would be confused.
Yeah, maybe it's like, because even The Witch, right, isn't like the most laid out plot of all time. Right. Like it is slightly cryptic, but you get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you're right. You still walk away and
get it. But maybe the same way at one point, so we had this conversation a long time ago, the same way that Ari Aster tried Hereditary and then went into Midsommar, maybe this is what Robert Eggers did with, you know what I mean, The Witch going into The Lighthouse. Like maybe it was just one of those, let me take this a step further in terms of how cryptic I want to be. Yeah. And it was just like, you went a little too far, homie.
Yeah, like if he could have done this initially, that's probably what he would have done. Yeah, I agree, and it's left me a bit disappointed in it. Really, I mean, it's a good movie. Yeah.
It's beautiful, by the way.
Oh yeah.
All the shots were just like, wow, this is black and whites like this.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and the sound design in particular.
Oh, I thought I was the only one that noticed.
It like you really at times you feel like you're really there on this island with them at this lighthouse. Like you hear the water and you hear the alarm of the lighthouse and just like the boats and
really good editing.
Yeah, and the seagulls. There are hella seagulls in this movie. Where did y'all find these birds, man? Because they were doing everything on cue.
Crazy. You might get a bird, get an Oscar or something.
Yeah, I think the one thing like I will walk away and say from this movie, like Robert Pattinson, I'm just really excited to see.
Oh boy,
where he goes. Like obviously we know he's gonna be Batman.
They both went crazy. Yeah. Like even though like that's the thing about this movie, it's like everything was there.
Yeah.
But the story.
Yeah, it kind of fell flat there, but
They
it
did
held the
amazing.
pieces.
Like
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson did amazing. And you knew they were doing exactly what they were supposed to do.
There was actually there was one monologue in there that Willem Dafoe did.
Oh boy,
it was the cooking monologue.
Yes.
That whole thing that was phenomenal.
Just so
like that whole thing was
good.
phenomenal. If you see the movie, you'll know what we're talking about. And it's actually funny too. There's some really funny parts.
It was
like
intentionally funny.
Yeah, like Willem Dafoe has like this thing. Like you can see early on they cannot stand each other, and eventually like that comes to a head. But it was a very back and forth sort of experience, and like we talk about it sometimes. Like the ending of a movie is really important, and if you don't land that, then it could kind of color your experience in a negative way sometimes. So I wish that was stronger, but hey, it is what it is. Like it was fine, The Lighthouse. If you're into like indie movies or if you want to see something that's like super different, you can check it out.
Yeah. Also, after all my research on this movie, if you watch The Lighthouse and you want to talk about it, we can talk about it because I kind of understand it a little bit more now. But yeah.
Yeah, somebody give me a walkthrough. I can help. I can use some help in that area. So those are our thoughts on The Lighthouse. If you see the movie, definitely hit us up. Let us know what you think.
Yes.